let's get to it. We're gonna continue the series on contract for deeds, okay? Documents and disclosures, all right? This is actually part 4 of the contract for deeds seller finance series that I've been doing here on YouTube. Appreciate you tuning in. For those that don't know, my name is Luther Wilson III. I'm a real estate professional here in the Kansas City market, representing for Upside Property Services, a small locally owned real estate brokerage that serves real estate investors. So my background's in property management, sales and investing, doing lending as well. And part of my jam is seller financing, creative financing transactions. And so I've been taking a deeper dive into that, all right? So in the first session on contract for deeds, I listed off all of the documents. There's 7, 8, or 9 documents that we would use in our package, okay? In part 2, I went over the first 3 documents in more detail, okay? In part 3, I went through the next 3, and here we are on part 4. I'm gonna go give a kind of an overview, not so much deep dive, but dive in a little bit deeper into the last 3 documents of our contract for deed package, okay, which would include the deed, okay, the settlement statement, as well as the amortization schedule. So those are the final 3 documents in our closing package, all right? So a very, very key part, they're all important. All of the forms and disclosures that we use are important, but there's of course some that are more important than others, and the deed is one of the most important ones, okay? As I mentioned on a previous video, one of the distinguishing factors between a traditional mortgage or some type of seller financing that's different than the contract for deed is the title transfer or the deed going from seller to buyer, okay? So that's a very key part. In these contract for deeds, the title does not transfer until a later date. And you, if you're the seller or an investor, at some point, you know, you're working with a buyer and you want to deed the property over to them, you have that right. You don't necessarily have to wait until the debt or the mortgage has been paid off, okay? So that's a key part there. So you're gonna have to keep track of these documents. This package, depending on who you work with, how you operate, how you do your transactions, how you run your business, you're gonna wanna keep these files in a safe place. So whether it's you or an assistant, someone on your team, it could be an escrow closer at an escrow service or title service company. It could be an attorney, okay, that you work closely with, or it could be you keeping track of those documents, okay? So the deed, just to get some more clarity for those that may not be as familiar with real estate transactions, I got a little help from ChatGPT, OpenAI for this session, okay? So real quick, and there's different types of deeds, okay? We use a general warranty deed, okay? But again, depending on what you're looking to accomplish, how the property was acquired, and then how you're transferring from there, you got to dig in and figure out which type of deed you want to use. But for ours, we're in Kansas City, Missouri, general warranty deed, okay? So a warranty deed is a legal document used in real estate transactions to transfer ownership of a property from the seller, also known as grantor, to the buyer, which is commonly referred to as grantee, okay? So seller, grantor, buyer, grantee, okay? It provides a guarantee that the seller holds clear title to the property and has the legal right to sell it. Additionally, the deed includes specific promises known as warranties to protect the buyer against future claims or issues related to the property's title, okay? So that's ChatGPT, I asked it, what is a warranty deed for real estate, okay? So that is a key part. So you wanna, this warranty deed, just FYI, would be signed by the seller, granting, title, transferring title to the buyer, okay? So on most of our contract for deeds, right, the reason we have very good performance with these is because we're doing fully amortized, fixed interest rate, no prepayment penalty, and no balloon. And we have a very solid package of disclosures and forms that we use, which helps to set these, residents or buyers at ease when they're looking at buying real estate in this manner. Okay, so that's the deed. Okay, I could go on more, but we'll circle back a little bit more on that later because I want to tie these in. The second form, okay, is the settlement statement. All right, if you have bought or sold property before and you've gone through an escrow or title company, and in every case, almost every case, there's going to be a settlement statement. Okay, we have one as part of our package as well, and this breaks down the costs and the fees and so forth, what the buyer may need to bring to the table as far as money to get the transaction done, and then what the seller's going to receive. You'll be able to see their net proceeds, right? Commissions could be part of it. Marketing costs could be part of it. You got loan costs in there. And if there's recording fees, you got to pay the closers, the title company, whatever that looks like. Okay. And this is another key part of the transaction. And I got a little bit of help from ChatGPT on this one here as well, because the settlement statement, it just goes back to disclosing and making sure people know what they're getting into and setting people at ease. Let me see if I can find it. I know I got it in here somewhere. I know we went over okay. A settlement statement in real estate is a detailed document provided at the closing of a real estate transaction. It itemizes all the financial details and transactions between the buyer, seller, and any involved parties, like lenders or title companies, okay? It ensures transparency by showing where every dollar in the transaction is going, okay? It's a comprehensive breakdown of who pays what and who receives what at closing, okay? It's crucial for ensuring accuracy and preventing disputes, okay? So that's document number 8 in our package, is the settlement statement, okay? Document number 9 is the amortization schedule, okay? As I mentioned before, part of why we've had such a good performance rate and, on these contract for deeds, on our seller finance transactions, is because of how we structure these as well as how we handle them. In this session, last few sessions, we're talking about how we structure these, okay? So the amortization schedule, again, most of ours are gonna be long-term. It could be 20 to 30 years, could be 10 to 15 years, fully amortized, fixed interest rate, loans. This is a private mortgage, right? Private note that gets created, and there's no prepayment penalty and there's no balloon, okay? So the amortization part comes into play as part of the monthly payment, okay? Part of that monthly payment goes towards principal and interest, okay? And then part of the monthly payment goes to taxes and insurance, which is considered the escrow. I talked about that particular form on a previous session, okay? But the amortization schedule, so part of that payment each month goes to pay interest, part of it goes to pay principal, and it's broken down in our amortization schedule year by year for 30 years. So assuming that the buyer doesn't pay extra towards principal, if they don't sell or refinance early, it breaks it down, okay? What the loan amount is, okay? And then the interest rate and the monthly payment, which would include principal and interest, okay? So again, these are clean, we disclose, we document, there's transparency there, okay? And again, this is just one way of transacting, buying or selling, utilizing seller financing, also known as creative financing, okay? This has been my jam for a while, helping investors, helping create more home ownership opportunities for people out there. So if you want more information about how we're doing these, we're in Kansas and Missouri, so depending on where you own property, where you're investing, you're gonna have to dig in there and figure out like what can work in that area, in that part of the globe, okay? And you know, we do other seller finance transactions as well, but this has been the main one, the big gun, where we've seen the greatest success. Like lots of investors, property owners are familiar with buying properties with the use of seller financing, but for whatever reasons, there's not as many investors or property owners offering seller financing, and it has been an absolute game changer for me, my colleagues, my customers, partners, and clients as a way to create additional streams of income that are a lot more passive, okay? And you can add this as a tool in your toolbox if you so choose, okay? So again, keep me in mind. It's Luther Wilson III, Upside Property Services, Kansas City Real Estate, signing off. Peace, y'all.